I have so much to say about tempeh. It is an amazing food, and I think the shortcoming is that we don't know it very well because it's fermented. It's not going to taste good. So that's the first one. The second is, I guess, like, well, someone just mentioned it to us, but like temperature. So a lot of the time people think raw tempeh is supposed to be cold or, you know, refrigerated. But actually, when you finish the fermentation process, it's warm. And if you go to like a local market, they just sell warm tempeh wrapped in banana leaves that they've just finished fermenting, right?
Yeah.
And that's the most natural form of tempeh.
True.
In terms of chips, I think people assume that, you know, all chips are kind of made the same. I think the most important thing and the differentiating factor between me and, you know, the consulate or the embassy is the voice. I also think it's kind of a synergetic relationship in that, like I said, because of the shared mission, ultimately, if we're introducing tempeh chips to the world, we're introducing tempeh to the world.
Halo Sobat Kajari New York, ketemu lagi dengan saya Amanda dalam serial podcast Kajari New York. And today, joining with us today, a very special guest, not only because she's young, but she is also a business owner and a woman. So here with us today is Liz Kang from Mama May Whole Foods.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you for
having me.
being here as well.
And the nice intro, thank you.
Yeah, no, I always love to have like young women, like
Yeah, you know,
business owner.
we gotta represent.
True. So yeah, so Liz is here for a summer fancy food show. So it's a trade show that promotes like food, Indonesian food to be specific. But I'll let Liz talk to you guys about her business and also about herself. Please, Liz, introduce yourself.
Yeah,
and your
sure.
business.
So my name is Liz. I co-own a tempeh chips business with my mother. So she was the one who actually is the mastermind behind all of this. She's always loved food. She's always loved healthy food. And we spent so many years in Indonesia. We were there for over 20 years. And we always loved this concept of, you know, taking something like tempeh and then globalizing it. Especially because it's such a magical food and it's such a representation of Indonesia. So for a long time, we were trying to think about how can we, you know, share this remarkable thing with the world and like play a small part in that. And it became the format of food and tempeh chips. So we started this company about 2 years ago through COVID, and we were planning all along. And this year, we finally launched the product in market. We're available in Korea, Japan, and hopefully soon in Singapore and parts of the US. So we're waiting on good news, but that's, as you said, why I'm here. I attended the Summer Fancy Food Show, which is one of many trade food shows happening in the US. This one just happened to be strategically located in New York.
True.
So we were very excited. It took months of preparation, as trade shows do, but we had a very positive experience. So I'm here to answer any questions, kind of share my insights. If anybody else wants to attend, they can feel free to contact us directly, or I'd be happy to dish out some advice that I've personally learned from trial and error.
That's really great. I mean, for such a young company, 2 years, and
Yeah.
you've been everywhere.
Yes, I think we are very fortunate, but I would say we owe most of it to just the fact that, you know, our chips and the food, of the magic of tempeh has really largely driven our success, I would say.
All right, that's really great.
Yeah.
So, okay, why tempeh? Out of all
Great
healthy
question.
food, there's a lot of healthy food,
Absolutely.
but why tempeh?
Okay, so I have so much to say about tempeh. It is an amazing food, and I think the shortcoming is that we don't know it very well. To an international audience, a lot of people are just getting to know what it is, and they've been introduced to it in different forms, like, you know, on the vegan menu, or a tempeh burger, or a stir fry. And so they're aware of what it is, but there are so many misconceptions around it, and just general lack of education. To answer your question, it's very simple. in my mom's words. So my younger brother is 7 years younger than me, and you know, we grew up in Jakarta, and we grew up eating tempeh, and we would eat it with, like, you know, rice. We would eat it with, you know, anything. It's just a great snack. And because she always fed tempeh to us, like in different forms, I think tempeh chips was something that she was very familiar with throughout the time that we were there. And because I think tempeh is so new to the world, even though it's not in terms of Indonesia, it has such a deep and rich history and heritage, what we wanted to do was kind of take tempeh and create a form that was really widely accessible to a broader audience. And what's better than snacks? Because everybody loves snacks.
Crispy snacks.
Yeah, crispy, savory snacks. So that's how we started. But in terms of tempeh, like in Indonesia, it's such a staple food, right? As a source of alternate protein. It's been around for centuries. And the method of creating it, because it's a fermentation process, I think now people are kind of opening their eyes to fermentation only now after generations of it in terms of like beer and sourdough, like kombucha. But it's been kind of a very magical, sustainable cooking method for a very, very long time in our human history. And some academics even say that like tempeh precedes tofu in terms of the timeline, because in Indonesia they've been doing it for really centuries. And you know, the ingredients are so simple. It's just tapioca flour, beans, and ragi, which is the rhizopus, the starter. And so it's so amazing to us that just 3 ingredients, all from nature, you can put it into a little loaf without any, you know, processed influence. And over a period of time, like 30, 50 hours, it turns into something else. That kind of transformation is really magical. And through that, I think we are able to retain so much of the nutrition that naturally occurs in those beans and those ingredients. And our tempeh chips do the same. So we slice them and we cook them in coconut oil.
So tempeh is like healthy and also sustainable.
Absolutely.
And also very versatile.
Yeah.
And it's like local wisdom of Indonesia that's been like on for centuries.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's so interesting, like tempeh chips.
Exactly. And I mean, tofu, like everyone knows what tofu is. And it's essentially a very similar process or like similar set of basic ingredients. But then tempeh is different in that it's the fermentation process. It retains the whole bean. That makes it higher in protein, higher in fiber. Now I'm just doing like a speech about tempeh, but we love it.
We love a good speech of tempeh, for tempeh.
And everyone should know about it.
True.
Yeah.
What do you think are the most like common misconception that people know tofu a lot?
Yes.
I always say like tempeh is a long lost sister.
Yeah, it's like the abandoned cousin.
I know.
It's
but
so
like,
sad.
Yeah, what are the most common misconceptions that you found like during promoting this tempeh chips?
Absolutely. I think the first misconception is probably tied to the fermentation, and just fermentation being a word that's kind of new to a broader set of audiences, and because a lot of the times people are unfamiliar with it and they fear the unfamiliar, they think it's going to taste bad because of fermentation.
It's not.
It doesn't. But the thing is, like I said, it's existed throughout our history, and it's just a way of cooking, if you really think about it. You might fry something, you might ferment something. And so I think the first misconception is because it's fermented, it's not going to taste good. But you know, you've had tempeh. I've had tempeh.
We grew up with tempeh.
Yeah, and it's delicious. Like it's so nutty, it's so earthy and rich, and it's actually not really an acquired taste. It can really be versatile, like you said. So that's the first one. The second is, I guess, like, well, someone just mentioned it to us, but like temperature. So a lot of the time people think raw tempeh is supposed to be cold or, you know, refrigerated. But actually, when you finish the fermentation process, it's warm. And if you go to like a local market, they just sell warm tempeh wrapped in banana leaves that they've just finished fermenting, right? And that's the most natural form of tempeh. Because it's undergone all of that fermentation process with all the healthy and good bacteria, no bad bacteria. So that's another one. I also think in terms of chips, I think people assume that, you know, all chips are kind of made the same.
Yeah.
You know, because everything in the snack aisle is quite similar from
True.
popcorn to pretzels. It's like all carb heavy and
Yeah, yeah,
starchy,
yeah.
but tempeh is gluten free.
It is gluten-free,
Yeah,
yes.
and it retains the whole bean, which is like I think very rare to come by. And so our like unprocessed final product is actually digestible, but also delicious and kind of differentiated from what's in the market, I would say.
That is great. So, okay, so you know now what are the most common misconception about tempeh and why is it not true, those misconceptions?
Yeah,
We debunked the...
I mean, I tried. I'm sure there are a lot of other misconceptions out there, and I'm no expert, but there are many experts in the world. So, yeah.
All right. So, okay, so Liz is here for a Summer Fancy Food Show.
That's right.
So you're looking to enter the U.S. market.
Yes.
So we talk about why tempeh.
Yeah.
But now, like, what motivates you to go to U.S. market? And what was your experience? Well, I think we got it earlier.
Yeah.
Like, you had a positive experience.
Yes.
But if you care to
Sure.
elaborate more on
Absolutely. I think the first thing I will say is our mission has always been the same, is to take this kind of wonderful item of tempeh and its heritage and its culture and its significance in Indonesia and play a small part in delivering that to the rest of the world. And when we think about the rest of the world, out of all of the continents and all of the countries, I think the U.S. is just very central to all types of dialogue and conversation in terms of culture, trends, and it's also very much a snack hub. People love snacking here.
Yeah,
and
totally.
Exactly. And people love snacking everywhere, but in America, it's like a culture.
True.
And so I think we've had that vision. We also, like I went to school here, so we have ties here. All of our friends are like, when are the tempeh chips coming to the U.S.? So I think it was those set of reasons. And I think the Summer Fancy Food Show, like I said, happened to be in New York, and it's a very central location. So it worked out as a very like aligned opportunity for us. And it was a very interesting experience, I would say. It's our first U.S. trade show, and 3 months ago we attended FoodX in Japan, which is also another trade show. And a lot of it, the trade shows are quite similar, but there are some distinguishing factors. I think especially for participants who are international and trying to enter the U.S. market, the cost and the barrier to entry is quite high because it's an investment to attend these trade shows. And, you know, for, you know, us, we flew 20 hours to be here and like shipping all of our samples, preparing, I would say it takes about like 1.6 times the effort of a domestic attendee or an exhibitor. But that being said, exhibiting was very impactful to us and really positive for us only because we had, I think, a clear set of goals and those goals were met. But I think the most crucial thing for people who are considering attending a US-based food show is, you know, not just research and preparation, that's really important, but to have a set of expectations and be very transparent and communicative about those set of goals to whoever you happen to meet at the show. That way, I guess, the ROI or the return on the cost of attending would be commensurate. It's still very much a challenge, I think, for international brands, and it's hard for people, especially who are bilingual or you know can't speak English, to make that jump or try and attend. It's a very words-based event, and lots of communication needs to happen. And also, the administrators of the event are really just purely there to help you set up and help you just build your booth and be there. But they don't really take those extra steps. So if you're looking for a buyer, if you're looking for a distributor, or someone to like cover your product, yeah, all of those reasons are valid, but you just have to be aware that those goals may not be met And you just have to do everything in your power to plan ahead.
And kudos to you for doing it all. Like you did it.
Wow, we
For now.
barely got it done. I think even the day before we were kind of pulling our hair out. So
But yeah, you made it
we made it.
out of the show.
Exactly.
So yeah, so research and willingness to take that extra mile
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
to reach your
And
goal.
setting good expectations.
True.
And not being too disappointed if those outcomes are.
All right.
Not
So
there.
okay, so my last question
Yeah.
and related to that extra
Sure.
miles, what do you expect? Like, so you're looking to enter the US market, right?
Yes.
To put tempeh out there to
Yeah.
the US. And if you can make it, they say you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere.
That's true.
So to take that extra miles,
Mm-hmm.
what do you, like, what are your hopes? How the government, like Indonesia,
Yeah.
can do to businesses like Mama May to
Yeah.
take the extra step and to get like more buyers and to put like Indonesian products out there?
Absolutely. I think you guys have really been such a huge help, and we've been
try.
so blessed to meet you. I think the most important thing and the differentiating factor between me and the consulate or the embassy is the voice, and I think the main thing is to be able to amplify that voice. And I think essentially these government bodies are a platform, and they're really interested in elevating people like myself who are just starting out with a shared mission. And I think once that's established, like everyone has been so extremely helpful in helping amplify our very small voice. And I think that is the best way that the government can really help. And that can come in different forms, I think. Education, like I said, is one of them. Like, what are the different avenues in which we can introduce the concept of tempeh to the rest of the world, or even just to New York, how to educate people better and inform them on, what tempeh constitutes of, Indonesian culture. I also think it's kind of a synergetic relationship in that, like I said, because of the shared mission, ultimately, if we're introducing tempeh chips to the world, we're introducing tempeh to the world.
So
in the
yeah,
best
like
ways.
collaboration is key to
Collaboration.
amplify everything, and eventually we can amplify like Indonesian
Absolutely.
voice.
Yeah.
Like collectively.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope Sobat Kajari New York enjoys this podcast, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And we do hope to see you more and more, and we do hope to see Mama May in the
Yes.
grocery store in the East Coast.
Yes, fingers
particularly.
crossed for all of us. But thank you for having me.
Thank you for
I really
being
enjoyed
here.
this.
We wish you all success.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oke, Sobat Kajari New York, demikian podcast kita hari ini. Sampai ketemu lagi di podcast selanjutnya. Dadah.